Ever wished you could just like type in a few words and get a song just like your favorite artist? Like full songs with vocals and everything?
Yeah.
Well, that's what Google DeepMind is working on with their project on AI music generation.
It really makes you wonder, like, are we on the verge of a whole new way to produce music? What DeepMind has done with Lyria is pretty remarkable. It's being called the most like advanced AI music generation model so far.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But what makes Lyria so special? There are already like a bunch of tools out there that do AI music.
Well, you have to think about all the different parts of music, melody, harmony, and rhythm. Then you have a bunch of different instruments. And on top of that, you add vocals.
Right.
It's a lot of information for AI to process and create something that actually sounds good.
Yeah, it's always been a challenge to get AI to make vocals sound believable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that makes Lyria so impressive. It can generate both instrumentals and vocals, and from what we're hearing, it's doing it better than anything we've heard before. It's not just creating from scratch, though it can also transform music that already exists, like remixing a song in a different style, or even continuing a song in the same style.
So it's not just like for creating those catchy 30-second jingles you hear in ads.
hmm
You're saying it can make full songs.
That's right. And DeepMind isn't just keeping this tech to themselves, they're actually using it in a couple pretty exciting ways.
Okay, you have to tell me more. What are they doing with this Lyria technology?
Well, they've got two major experiments going on that are worth talking about: Dream Track and Music's AI tools.
All right, let's start with Dream Track. What's the idea there?
Imagine you're just scrolling through YouTube Shorts and you come across a video that needs that perfect background music. Dream Track lets anyone create a 30-second music clip that sounds like it was made by a famous artist.
Interesting. So it's like a music producer built right into YouTube. But what artists are we talking about here?
Oh, they've got a pretty big lineup. We're talking Alec Benjamin, Charlie Puth, Charlie XCX, Demi Lovato, John Legend, Sia, T-Pain, Troye Sivan, and even Papoose.
Whoa, that's a really diverse group of artists.
hmm
It seems like they're trying to reach a lot of different musical tastes. How does it work? Do you need any musical background to use it?
That's what's so cool about Dream Track. You don't need any musical training at all. You just type in a topic, choose the artist whose style you want, and the AI does the rest. It comes up with lyrics, backing track, and even vocals, all in the style of that artist.
Wait, you're saying I can make a song that sounds like Charlie Puth wrote it,
Exactly.
even though I can't sing at all?
Exactly. It's not just a gimmick either. The article I read included some examples of songs made with Dream Track, and they were surprisingly good. They highlighted two examples. One was in the style of Charlie Puth, and one in the style of T-Pain.
Did they actually get that T-Pain autotune sound? I'm skeptical, but also impressed. It makes you wonder if this could help aspiring musicians get their music out there.
That is an interesting thought. Could this be the tool that gets music from unknown artists heard? It definitely raises some interesting questions about what the music industry might look like in the future.
Definitely. Okay, so then we've got a Dream Track for all those people wanting to be YouTube stars. What about those music AI tools you were talking about? Are those more for professional musicians?
You could say that. While Dream Track is all about ease of use and quick creation, the music AI tools are about giving artists and producers more power and control over their music. DeepMind is making these tools with YouTube's Music AI incubator, and they're all about giving musicians more creative possibilities.
Okay, tell me about some of the things these music AI tools can do.
All right, imagine this. You're working on a new song, and you have this melody stuck in your head, but you don't know how to bring it to life. With these tools, you could hum that melody into the system, and it could make it into a full horn section, a string arrangement, or even a choir.
Wait, are you just making stuff up or can it actually do that?
No, the article talked about all those uses. It also talked about being able to transform beatboxing into a drum loop, turning singing into an orchestral score, and even taking basic chords on a keyboard and making them sound like a choir.
Wow, that's really cool. It sounds like these tools could really change how music is made.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what kind of music we'll be listening to in the future, doesn't it?
It does. But with all this AI music potentially coming out, how will we even know what's made by a human and what's made by a machine? That could be a nightmare when it comes to copyright.
That's a great question, and that's where DeepMind's SynthEd technology comes in.
Syntheday. What is that? Like some AI music police?
Haha, I like that. SynthEd is basically a way to watermark audio made by AI.
A watermark, like on photographs. How do you watermark music?
Well, it's not a visible watermark, it's embedded into the audio itself. They do this by turning the audio into a visual image called a spectrogram, which basically shows all the different frequencies of the sound. Then they embed the watermark within that image.
So like a secret message hidden in the music? Couldn't someone just remove that watermark if they wanted to say that AI music is their own?
This is where it gets interesting. DeepMind says that Synthide is really robust. Even if someone tries to change the audio, like by making it louder, adding background noise, or even changing the speed, the watermark can still be found.
Wow, they really thought of everything. So Synthide is like a safety net to make sure AI-generated music doesn't lead to everyone stealing music.
That's the idea. It's supposed to help protect the music industry and make sure that both human and AI creators are protected.
This is incredible, but it also brings up some ethical questions. How do we make sure this technology is used responsibly? And what about people's worries about AI taking creative jobs?
You're right, those are important things to think about, and it seems like DeepMind knows that. They're saying that they're committed to developing these AI music technologies in a responsible way and are talking to artists and people in the music industry to figure out how to address these ethical concerns.
So it sounds like they're really trying to work with musicians rather than replace them.
It seems that way.
That's good. But even if they're being responsible, this whole AI music thing still feels like opening a can of worms. It raises so many questions about what music will be like in the future and what it means to be creative.
It does, and I don't think anyone has all the answers yet.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so fascinating. We're seeing the start of a new era of music, and it's going to be exciting and maybe a little crazy.
Okay, before we get too philosophical about all of this, let's talk more about the technology itself.
Yeah.
How does Lyria actually work? What's happening behind the scenes to make all this possible?
Let's get into it. Ready to dive into the technical stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we were talking about how music is so complex with all its different layers and nuances,
Yeah.
right? Well, now imagine trying to teach a computer to understand all of that and make it sound good.
Right.
It's a really, really difficult challenge.
It really is mind-boggling when you put it like that. How did they manage to do it with Lyria? What's the secret?
Well, one of the key things is something called a transformer model. You might have heard of transformers that have been getting a lot of attention in different areas of AI, especially with language.
Transformers.
Yeah.
Like the robots that turn into cars? Haha, I'm just kidding. But really, what do transformers have to do with music?
Well, think about how we learn language. We start by noticing patterns.
Right.
We learn that certain sounds make up words and words make up sentences. Transformers do kind of the same thing, but with data. They're really good at looking at tons of information and finding those hidden patterns and connections.
So for music, are these transformers like looking for patterns in melodies and harmonies and rhythms?
Exactly. They trained Lyria's transformers on a huge data set of music. Millions of songs from all kinds of genres and styles. And by analyzing all that music, Lyria learned the basic rules of how music works and how all the different parts fit together.
So it's like Lyria went to music school, but instead of years of classes, it learned everything in a really short amount of time.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a composer who studied music theory and listened to tons of music, Lyria can use that knowledge to create new songs or change existing ones.
That's really amazing, to think that an AI can understand those complicated musical ideas. But music isn't just about notes and rhythms, right? There's also emotion and feeling in music. Can AI really capture that human element?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's something that people debate a lot. Some people think that real art needs human consciousness, that AI can copy things, but it can never really feel or understand the emotions behind the music.
So like it could make a technically perfect song, but it would be missing that soul, that thing that connects with us emotionally.
That's one way to look at it. But other people argue that AI can be creative in its own way. They point out that Lyria isn't just copying. It's using all its knowledge about music to come up with new combinations and sounds that haven't existed before.
So it's like a chef trying out new ingredients and flavors and pushing the boundaries of what you can do with food.
I like that comparison. It's all about finding new possibilities and going into uncharted territory with music. Whether we think of it as emotional or meaningful might just be our own human way of interpreting it.
It makes you wonder if our idea of what art is and what it means to be creative might have to change as AI gets more advanced. But let's come back down to earth for a second and talk about what all this means practically. If anyone can make a hit song using AI, what happens to human musicians?
That's a good point, and it's something that a lot of people in the music industry are worried about. But DeepMind seems to be saying that these tools are meant to help human creativity, not replace it.
So it's not about AI taking over music, but about AI and humans working together, each using their own strengths.
Exactly. Think about when the electric guitar was invented. It didn't mean the end of acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
Instead, it opened up a whole bunch of new sounds and ways to play music, and musicians embraced it as a new tool. Maybe we can think about these AI music tools in the same way as a new set of instruments and sounds that can expand what we can do creatively.
That's a much more optimistic way to look at it. So maybe instead of worrying about AI taking over, we should be excited about what humans and AI can do together.
Definitely. Imagine a world where artists can use AI to get past creative blocks, try out sounds they could never make on their own, and collaborate with other artists from different genres and even different countries. The possibilities are really exciting.
Okay, you've convinced me I'm less worried and more interested now.
Hmm.
But even with the best intentions, there's always a chance that technology could be misused. What are some of the things we should be careful about with something as powerful as AI music?
You're absolutely right. We can't just ignore the potential problems. One big worry is the idea of deepfakes in music. Imagine someone using AI to create a song that sounds exactly like a famous singer.
Right.
They could potentially hurt that artist's reputation or even spread false information.
That's a little scary. It sounds like the Wild West of digital audio where anything goes. But besides deepfakes, what about the bigger implications for the music industry as a whole?
There are worries about copyright, of course. If AI can easily make music that sounds like any artist, how do we protect the rights of those artists? And how do we make sure that human creators are paid fairly when AI music is so easy to get?
It sounds like a real mess when it comes to legalities and ethics.
It definitely brings up some really tough questions. We need to be having serious discussions about how to deal with all of this, how to set clear rules and regulations that protect both human creators and the music itself.
It seems like with every powerful technology, there's this struggle between moving forward and doing it responsibly. But for now, let's put those big ethical questions aside and get back to the tech itself. We talked about how Synthedy can watermark AI music, but how does it actually work? What kind of magic are they using to embed these invisible markers?
Ready to get really technical.
Yep, I'm ready. Take it away.
Okay, so it all comes down to how we hear sound. Our ears aren't perfect. They can only pick up a certain range of frequencies, and they can only hear so much detail within those frequencies.
So they're using that to their advantage with Synthedy. Pretty clever.
Exactly. Think about a dog whistle. We
Yeah.
can't hear it, but dogs can because it uses a really high pitch that's outside our range of hearing. Synthi does something kind of similar, but instead of high pitches, it uses these really tiny changes in the audio that are almost impossible for humans to hear.
So they're basically hiding a secret message in the music that we don't notice, but a computer can pick up.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. These tiny changes don't affect how the music sounds to us, but a computer that has the synthite algorithm can analyze the audio and see that watermark and know it was made by AI.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. But what if someone tries to mess with the audio, like changing the volume or adding background noise? Wouldn't that mess up the watermark?
That's actually one of the things that makes synthites so cool. Even if you try to mess with the audio, those little changes are still there in the signal. They
Yeah.
might be harder to find, but the watermark is still there.
So it's like a fingerprint you can't get rid of? That's impressive. How reliable is it, though? Can it really tell the difference between music made by a human and music made by AI?
Well, DeepMind has been testing it a lot, and they say it's really accurate.
Okay.
It's not perfect, but it's a big step toward knowing if something was really made by a human or not.
That's good to know. It seems like they've really thought about the potential problems and are trying to make sure this technology is used for good. What are your overall thoughts on all of this?
It's a really interesting time to be following AI in music. We're seeing something totally new, and there are so many possibilities, but also a lot of uncertainty. On one hand, you have the potential for amazing new creative tools, new kinds of musical expression, and easier access to making music for everyone.
And on the other hand, there's the worry about what it means for human musicians
Mm.
and the possibility of this technology being used in harmful ways.
Right, exactly. It's important that we keep talking about these issues, and it's good that DeepMind is talking to artists and people in the music industry to figure out how to navigate these complicated questions.
It really feels like we're at a turning point. The decisions we make now will have a huge impact on music in the future.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes this so exciting, right?
Absolutely.
We're seeing the beginning of something big,
Yeah.
and we get to be a part of it and talk about all the questions it raises.
I completely agree. And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about what we choose to do with it. How do we want to use it to be more creative, and how do we want to see it used in our lives?
I really like that perspective. So if you had the chance to sit down with the people at DeepMind, what's one question you'd ask them about their work on AI music?
That's a good question. I think I'd ask them about their vision for the future. What do they hope this technology will eventually do? Are they trying to make the perfect pop song? Or is it something bigger than that, something that changes the way we create, listen to, and connect with music?
Wow, that's a really thought-provoking question. It makes us think about the long-term impact of all this and not just the immediate effects.
It does. It's a question we should all be thinking about. What do we want the role of AI to be in music? How can we make sure it's used for good to help us be more creative and experience music in new and exciting ways?
I think that's a great place to wrap up this conversation. It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of AI music generation with you. This technology has the potential to completely change how we create and experience music, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Until next time, keep listening and keep exploring.